You know how at night, even if we go to sleep and we think we've got everything turned off light-wise, okay? And this could be one of the reasons that maybe you're not sleeping as well as you could. Maybe you've got a night light in the hallway. Well, that's a light coming in, okay? It could be, how many of you have like a bedside clock or a clock in your room that's, and you know, you don't find clocks like this anymore. Okay, everything is digital, right? Forget having something analog. Okay, my grandson can tell time on anything except a clock like this because he has not been taught how to tell time on a clock like this.
What?
It's been time from a digital clock, like on the microwave and so forth. And I'm just like, I just cringe.
I can't have any light. I need total darkness.
See, I need it to be almost total darkness. I have like one little night light that's in my kitchen, okay, which just gives a, and I found out, I hooked up a cable box, and you know how the cable box has the really bright blue light, that blue-white light, okay, that's on it, and I have to put a sock over it before I can go to sleep, because just that little bit of light will affect it. It will actually affect it. So it's really cool. It's really cool about the light.
I love it when I go visit my father, because the room I sleep in is a basement room that has no windows.
No.
And it's completely black in there.
Cool.
I had a friend in the Navy, and they were in a submarine for a long time underwater, and they weren't getting enough sun, so they actually have like a light room that they require all the sailors to go into.
Yes.
I think it's like 2 hours or something.
You have a certain amount of time you're supposed to stay in it per day. If not, I mean,
You'll go
it'll
insane.
really mess you up.
Yeah.
Yeah, it'll really mess you up. So the pineal gland, pretty interesting to be as small as it is, Another one that's very interesting, you guys ever heard of this one? It's page 641 of your textbook.
What would that do to a male? You said what it would do to a female taking.
Oh, I would imagine for the male it would make their sperm count go very low. Yeah, and it probably have a very low sperm count. The thymus gland. Have you ever heard of that one? The T cells. Ever heard of those? Okay. The thymus gland. Now, note plays a role in 3 systems: the endocrine system, lymphatic system, immune system. It is going to be a bilobed gland, okay, in the mediastinum, superior to the heart. Note, they're showing us newborn versus an adult. Look at this thing in the newborn.
Wow.
Look at it in the adult. There's a reason for that, okay? After puberty, the gland goes through what they term involution. It's going to get smaller, okay? The job, it's the area for T cells to mature. Therefore, we need it for the immune system. So what it's going to do, the lymphocytes that will make their way to the thymus gland from the blood, because a lymphocyte's a white blood cell, okay? It'll make its way to the thymus. In the thymus, there are some hormones that are produced. Those hormones are going to affect that lymphocyte, that white blood cell, and it will mature into the T cells. The T cells are needed to help fight stuff that try to invade the body. Now, the reason that the thymus gland is huge in a newborn versus the size in an adult, who has more immunity built up, the adult or the newborn? The adult. The newborn needs to build their immunity. The more you're exposed to that your body has to fight off, it's going to build memory cells. And T cells are a part of this. So as we get older, we don't need it to function as much because we've built memory cells, and the memory cells will help to take care of whatever tries to invade you.
I don't know if this is relevant, but do our cells recognize like the bacteria for food poisoning? So you can like be immune to food poisoning at some point?
No, because we're talking about the botulinum bacteria, okay? And when you have that, when you get exposed to that, it's so fast growing, the body loses the war against that. So that's why you need the help of antibiotics and so forth, for the most part, okay? Sometimes you can have a little bit of food poisoning, have maybe the throw up, the diarrhea, that sort of thing, and you kind of recover, okay? But sometimes when it gets to the point that it's so severe, that's when you really need help, yeah. So it's not that they have this immunity to it, they just recognize it as the foreign substance, and the body tries to fight it. And the white blood cells that we have are so numerous in count, each one does something different to fight it. So, let's take a peek back at this thyroid gland now, because that's a gland, okay? It was acted on and it had to produce its hormone, just like these other glands have had to do. The reason that we're going to go back to the thyroid gland, or did I take that out?
Where are we?
The next slide.
Oh, it's in the next slide, sorry. I got mine out of order. Oh, because I don't have this slide. Okay. So let's look at, for a second, at hormones. Okay? Chemicals throughout the body, all right? Not every chemical is going to be a hormone, all right? Chemicals throughout the body are going to have different effects. Do you guys remember us mentioning the autocrines and the paracrines and how their effect was different? It was something that was being produced by the cell, and it would go back and affect the cell or affect the tissues that were around the cell. So, autocrines, those were released from cells that are influencing the same cell from where they're released. Huh? What? Do you remember the picture at the beginning where it was the cell, the production, and it affected the cell? Okay, that was the autocrine. Now, these right here that you see as the examples, they're going to come back to us when we start the next chapter, when we start the chapter on blood. Okay, so I just kind of want to go back to those for just a second because they're going to come back to us. Now, paracrines, they're produced from one cell type, but they can have target tissue that's just a short distance away and affect that tissue, that cell. biggest job they have, sensation of pain. That's how the endorphins work, okay? So, paracrines, we're gonna see again, all right? But autocrines, we're gonna come back to in the next chapter. So just coming back to those real quick. But I think in the very beginning of the chapter, I have some pictures of them, if I'm not mistaken. Okay. So now, I want to revisit the thyroid gland a little bit. This starts on page 641 of your text. It is one of our largest endocrine glands. It is highly vascular, meaning it has a very good blood supply. Iodine is needed for proper function of the thyroid gland. For the most part, here in the US, we iodize stuff. We add iodine to it, all right? Because we found out that one of the biggest problems without the proper function is a goiter, all right? And by having the proper amount of iodine, causing the thyroid gland to work properly, decreased that issue. So we need iodine. Iodine enters follicular cells, which is a type of cell that's in the thyroid gland, by active transport. What do you remember about active transport? Requires energy. The thyroid gland stores its hormone. So it can produce it and it will store it also. When we look at the structure of the thyroid gland, we're going to find it's made up of follicles. Looks like circles of cells. Okay? So this circle of cells, these follicular cells, okay, surround the hormone. Between these follicles, there are cells in between, and they're simply termed parafollicular, for around the follicles. All right? So the job, the cells of those follicles secrete hormones. The follicle has a lumen. Have I mentioned lumen before? Okay, so if we have this round structure, straight down through the middle of it is lumen, meaning just empty. Okay, so what we find is that if I have my follicle, okay, middle of it is empty, so that's telling me something about the placement of my cells. Okay, then if I have